Diego, welcome. Always good to see our student leaders as they are the reason we are here. Speaking of being here, welcome everyone. My name is Ricky Shabazz. I have the honor and privilege of being the president of our wonderful college. We are in our summer run of college council, because certainly as we are in a pandemic or endemic, we have a lot to discuss and present. College Council is the highest level of governance, shared participatory governance at our college. It consists of all the leaders of the various constituency groups who I will introduce momentarily. Speaking of introducing, also our very special guests today are the first cohort of our job shadowing, which was an opportunity for folks in instruction, student services, administrative services to shadow the exec team, the vice presidents and I. We had an amazing group of colleagues who got to spend the last 3 or 4 months attending meetings individually with their respective vice president or myself, and coming together as a group for Q&A sessions. And so they are joining us as this process begins to conclude this summer. This is one of 2 meetings, the last remaining meeting. So them attending College Council so they can see how things work, as well as them attending an exec cabinet meeting, which I believe they're going to be attending next Tuesday. And so just want to congratulate our graduates of the job shadowing experience, and thank you. Hopefully you all learned a lot. Let me begin College Council with a roll call. And again, my name is Ricky Shabazz. I am the president of San Diego City College. The way College Council works is that if you would like to present an agenda item to College Council, you can do so one of 2 ways. Either by reaching out to one of these amazing leaders who I'm going to introduce momentarily, that are the leaders of the various constituency groups, or by reaching out to Janelli in my office, and we would be glad to add an agenda item to College Council. I think we have a couple of people. I know that there are changes in Academic Senate, and so I don't see Mona with us. I believe she's going to be starting momentarily, but our former past president of the Academic Senate was Paul, who we met with on Thursday, and joining us in her new capacity, I believe momentarily will be Mona, who is going to be going into the role of the past president of the Academic Senate. Our vice president of instruction, Tilly, is on vacation, much deserved vacation, I must say. And so joining us in that capacity and then acting, playing dual roles, is one of our deans, Robbie.
President Ricky.
So we'll have you president for Tilly, as well as the chair of the Technology Council. Caesar is our information officer.
Present.
Jocelyn is still standing in as our supervisory rep.
Present.
New to the College Council, but certainly someone that many of us know, one of our amazing faculty members who is now serving in the role as the president of Chairs Cabinet, also known as the chair of chairs, Suna. Welcome, congratulations.
Thank you, present.
Susan Murray is on vacation, our Dean of Institutional Effectiveness. Masa, our administrative rep.
I'm here.
Diego, our new president of the Associated Student Government. Diego.
Present.
And one of the students going to us on the Africa trip, we're going to be talking about that today as part of College Council. Good to see you, Diego. John is our vice president of administrative services.
Present.
Marciano, vice president of students.
Present.
Sean, president of Classified Senate.
Present.
And Maria Jose, the president of the Academic Senate.
Presente.
Great. Again, this makes up your College Council. these are a great group of fine professionals that if you would like to speak to about any of the college's affair or bring forth an agenda item, you can work with them or my office. The first item, or actually the second item on the agenda, is the approval of the notes from the June 21st meeting. Would someone like to make a motion? And just the way we do this, because we're in the Zoom world, is if you'll unmute yourself and identify yourself, I would appreciate it. But if someone would like to vote approval or make a motion of approval for the June 21st meeting notes, and certainly thank you to Janelli for doing our meeting notes. They should have been in the calendar invite and the email that was sent to the campus.
Hello, Ricky. This is Robbie Yule. I would like to move that we approve the notes.
Thank you, Robbie. Is there a second?
María José Celedón Pérez, I second.
Thank you, Maria Jose. Any further discussion about the meeting notes? Excuse me. Hearing none, and I'll talk a little bit about COVID a little later because it is absolutely real. The rates are increasing, and so folks, please wear a mask and take care of yourself. I am COVID negative, but I did have COVID the last two weeks, and now I have this lingering COVID cough that they call. But I am negative, just for the record. If there are no further discussions, if you would indicate whether you approve the matter by hitting the reaction button, green being you approve, the red X being you would like to vote in opposition. And if you would like to abstain, if you would unmute yourself, identify yourself, and state your abstaining for the record. Have a couple of members of College Council that are still voting. Great, looks like the motion carries. Meeting notes are approved. And what I would like is for maybe each of the vice presidents to introduce item number 3, the job shadowing cohort. And Marciano, you're the first on my screen. So if you wouldn't mind introducing the person or persons who job shadowed you.
All right. Well, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. I'm trying to see who's here. So first on my screen, I have Abel Macias, who is one of our faculty members who has been part of the Job Shadow program. So Abel is here, I believe. Sorry, everybody's doing their eyes on the screen, so it's hard to see. There he is. I also had Oscar Duran, who is a counselor and working with our City Scholars program. So Oscar is the second one. And then I had Blanca Estrada, who is one of the folks that works in financial aid. And so those were the 3 folks that were assigned to me. I think I had the best team, but that's just me.
Oh, I hear you. The competition can be a good thing. So Marcelo, maybe you could just share 1 or 2 things that you did with the group or that you learned from the.
Yeah, so I was able to meet individually with the folks that were assigned to me. We talked about a little bit about like sharing our experiences, how we got into higher ed, how we ended up at City. I've done mock interviews with a couple of the folks for as they are preparing to look for other opportunities or move up in opportunities. So we've done some mock interviews. I've reviewed resumes with them. And then we've also talked about some of the books that we were all given as a way to kind of share some of our takeaways from the book. So the Bell Hooks book, and then The Greatest Showman was the other one that folks seem to want to talk about a lot. So those were some of the things that we did. And of course, we did the group activities that folks participated in by coming in D121 when we kind of shared our story. So we spent a lot of time talking about like our own personal experiences and journeys and how we view ourselves in the roles that we currently have.
Great. And Abel, anything you want to add? No pressure. Any thoughts you'd like to add about the experience?
Not too much. I mean, just that I think it was a great initiative. spearheaded by the administration, the leadership of the campus. I think it was a good effort to try to put words into action and trying to address the needs of representation and keeping City College team together instead of losing us to other places, other campuses and things like that. So I think it was a good effort in that. I think it was the inaugural one, right? So maybe it'll continue to grow.
Absolutely, Abel. Thank you. And speaking of losing people to other places, the next group who was shadowing our vice president of instruction, and I don't know, Robbie, if you're able to speak to them, but I know that it was Kelly, one of our great faculty members, as well as Tracy and Jocelyn had an opportunity to shadow Tilly Chavez. And I could tell you that Tilly shared with me that it exceeded her expectations in getting to know you all. And I know Kelly may be leaving us, but she's still in the San Diego Community College District family. We are so happy for her. Also serving as our one of our PD coordinators. So Kelly, thank you. We have absolutely recognized and appreciated your leadership on campus, and are so happy for you in your new role that you're going to be going into. Would either of you like to share anything about your experience?
I just want to say thank you for that. And I really believe that I benefited immensely from this. I also just want to say it was incredibly humanizing to have someone sort of take you by the hand and say, hey, I've been through this. Here's what it was like for me. These challenges you've experienced, we have all been through. And I just really appreciated that. And speaking to something that was said earlier, it speaks to who we are as a campus, that we actually did one of the things that we said was important to us. And I benefited from that, and I appreciate it. So thank you so much.
Great, thank you. Any other thoughts from Team Tilly?
I'll say something. Sorry, I was finishing my lunch. For me, I enjoyed the process because for the past, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 years, I've been applying to programs that state that they want those who are not in positions of leadership or administration, but in reality, they're only accepting those people who are already in those roles. So for me, this program was very beneficial because I was able to have access to someone. In my case, it was VPI Tilly, and in a role in which I aspire to be in. I aspire to be a VP of instruction, and eventually a president in the future. So for me, it was very helpful. Not only that, I think what made it more special is because it was at our own campus. It wasn't just a random program. So I felt like home to me. And I think it made that interaction that much more special.
Thanks, Tracy. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
And I would just like to echo what Kelly and Tracy said, but also that it speaks to who City is, because we are innovators. And without our president leading this effort and having the exec team behind it 100%, it was invaluable. My one-on-ones with Tilly have shown me more of who I am and also what I have to offer. So that's invaluable, that I will take forever. And so I want to say thank you to everyone that made this possible, that gave me the opportunity to work with Tilly and still continue to work with her. Some projects came about that put me in a different position, in a different light, and gives me the opportunity to share what my knowledge and my contribution to our college. So for me, it's always something that I will hold dear. So I want to say thank you to all of you that made this possible. And to echo Marciano, where he's saying he had the best team. No, I have to combat that.
Right. I couldn't wait to speak on that.
But all in love. I think we're all a great group of people. And so it speaks to what City stands for, not only social justice, but just being a family and supporting and encouraging each other in what they aspire to be. So thank you.
Great. Thank you
Okay,
for that.
I'm sorry, can I add something that, just one more
Absolutely.
thing that Tilly said to me, which stood out? She said, it doesn't matter, like, from this moving forward, it doesn't matter where you're at. If you're still at city, it doesn't matter. Like, we're forever connected. So I am your pretty much like mentor for life in a way, is what she was telling me. And so for me, that just in spite of her, she's very busy. I understand you all have busy schedules and on the admin side, but for someone to say that, and I believe truly mean it, that meant a lot for me, because it kind of, it's a reflection of who I am as a person. And the same things I tell my students, we're forever connected and I'm here to support you and guide you. So to have someone at that level who said the same thing to me, that was very, very near and dear to my heart. And I will work with Tilly and utilize her forever, right? Take advantage of that connection. So we build not only networking, but lifelong connections, I believe, with this program.
Thank you, Tracy. John, did you, and I'm sorry, Robbie, was there anything you would like to add on behalf of Tilly?
No, you can tell by the responses that it was highly successful and enriching for all involved.
Great, thanks, Robbie. John.
Hi there. Yes, I don't see any of my mentees on. I know one transferred to the district, and I'm not seeing the other two here. Maybe I scared them off. Who wants to be in finance and accounting this time of year? But I did have the opportunity to meet, and believe they did sit in on a couple of meetings. Didn't meet as often as I would have liked to, given the time of year with budgets and year-end close. It does become pretty hectic, which probably is one of the reasons. Well, all joking aside, it is a great program. I had actually the same experience my first school in higher education. It might have been 17 years ago. And particularly in a community college, this is my first job at a community college. And a district such as ours and a state as large as ours with all the districts, it provides the guidance, it provides insight into what we do. It may or may not be for those who are interested in becoming a dean, VP, president, chancellor, or whatnot. And sitting on the meetings is very beneficial. I go into these serving as a mentor in various capacities. For me, it's reciprocity. I look to learn something as well, and in addition to imparting some of my knowledge and experience and guidance. So it is reciprocal, and I actually thank you for this program and the opportunity. I look forward to the next cohort.
Well, thanks, John. And I want to echo that I must have scared my 3 people away as well, because I don't see them there. But I had the pleasure, much like you've outlined and others have, of learning from the folks who shadowed me, Jasmine and Janae in Mission and Records. And I believe Janae is working out of class and has, promoted, or at least venturing to explore those opportunities to promote, and Dr. Gonzalez, who has gone on from working in our research department to Title III, and now is over at UCLA in her very similar role, I think, working in Title III or Title IV. And I will say that I learned a great deal, even from our vice presidents, things that I didn't know, their amazing stories of career pathways. And we will continue to do that. So the reason why we're here is to say we will be making an announcement as part of convocation for the second cohort. And so if you're interested in learning more about the inner workings of our college, or you're exploring possibilities of promoting and what it takes to be a vice president or a president, there's going to be an opportunity for a second cohort. And I want to congratulate our first cohort and say that we learned from you all as much as we hope that you learned from us. And congratulations, no matter where your future takes you, we know that it'll be a bright one. So congratulations to that first cohort. We always remember our first group. So congratulations to you all. Moving along on the agenda, where did the agenda go? Give me 1 second. think I deleted it by accident. I believe actually, John, you're next on the agenda to talk about the space request form.
Yes, thank you. I'll share the space request form here. Give me 1 second.
You should be able to share your screen, John.
Yep, got it. Thank you. Just a quick overview of the request for space form, as we have more people coming back onto campus for fall and during our transition for the spring semester and summer as well. In order for us to better manage the space planning of the campus and facility use management, logistics, resources, and facility services, we require this form to better track what's going on across campus, be it a classroom, event space, or an office space. This is the process here for requesting this space. Now, this is for new permanent space. If it's for one-time event, that would be a facilities use request, which entails an email to Dina and me. But this is for new permanent spaces on campus. So the request is routed to department programs approved by respective VP of the division, item number 4, and eventually is routed to me. I present these requests to the Review of Services Committee that I chair as we meet on a monthly basis. And upon availability, assuming there's availability, it's approved at the Review of Services Committee based on the information that is provided in the form. So it's a detailed description of what the use is, how it impacts the program and department and operations, the days, the times, the impact on student success, and a question regarding the impact on the health and safety of the campus and how often the space we use. So it's pretty self-explanatory, comprehensive, and it's ultimately signed by me, approved by me, again, after meeting with the Review of Services Committee. This is available on our website. I will also be sending this out for the administrative services update. As always, if there's any questions regarding this form, the space in particular should be discussed with the VPs, and the VPs will discuss with me. And Marciano, we just had a conversation regarding this as well. So again, please, it's important to ensure that we maintain that communication. Often, not oftentimes, but we can have a situation where we didn't go through this process, and it'll create a challenge for scheduling and events. So we need to know for space planning and facility use management purposes. Any questions that I can answer regarding the request for space form? Good to go.
May I ask a
Yeah,
question?
please, Jocelyn.
So the form is for if your request, and I do apologize, I haven't looked at it. You're requesting for if you want additional space, or you need to utilize space that's not in your area. I hope I was clear on that.
It's both. If it could be additional new permanent in your area, outside of your area. If it's new permanent space that doesn't exist in your department or division, this form would be used for that.
Yeah, and if I could real quick, and I see your hand, Maria Jose, the reason why we're doing this for a couple of reasons. One, there are a lot of new people in new positions, and this is not a new form. And so as you have a lot of new people, I think we're hiring a third of our full-time people are going to be new. And then you have people in new positions. And so space becomes a very interesting conversation on a college campus, like who owns it, who does it belong to, how do I get it, how did they get it? And it's important to convey that there is a process. You can't just arbitrarily go claim an office or a space and say it's mine. These spaces belong to the district, to the college, and it is important that folks know that there is a process to request consideration for new or existing space. And so we wanted to make sure we shared that form as part of the record because it already exists as a record. Matter of fact, John, maybe you can share where people can find the form if they would like to look at the form. Now, it was sent out to the entire campus as part of College Council today. You mentioned, you heard from John that he's going to be sending it as part of his update. This form goes back at least 5 years when I arrived on the campus. Maria Jose, well, before we get to Maria Jose, John, can you share where the form is located?
Yes, I'm looking for that link right now.
Well, while he's looking for it,
I'll
Maria
paste
Jose,
it. I'm sorry, I'll paste it in the chat. Is that?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, thank you for this. That was one of my questions, and I think this definitely will help with the process, smooth process for all the new people coming in. But is this something, John, I know you're coming to the Senate at some point to present on the budget. Is this something you can also come in and do a little refresher on for the Senate? I will invite you to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or I can share the form, but I always like when our colleagues come and join us to say hi and inform us.
Certainly.
Suna.
Thanks. I just wanted some clarification. So is this a request for classroom space as well?
Depends on what the classroom space is going to be used for. If the classroom space is going to be used for instruction, no, that those discussions are had with the division dean and the chairs. There's already a process for assigning classes to be used for instruction. This is, and this is actually, I'm glad you asked that question. Remember, Sunan, when you all were going to be located in the library and we found those office spaces in the T building. And we said, what would you rather have, these brand new offices or remodel offices in the T building, or would you rather stay where you were going to be in the library? And you all chose through this process to go to the offices in the T building.
Yes, so this is what that's for. This may be outside the scope of this, but it would be lovely to know how the classroom spaces are, how that is figured out.
Robbie,
So
would you?
Maybe outside the scope of that, and that's fine if that it needs to be addressed another time.
Yeah, no, Robbie, is that a quick answer?
It depends. No, I'm just kidding. No. It is a relatively quick answer. Normally for the assignment of classroom space is done at the dean level, instructional deans normally. And for every building that we have where we have instructional spaces, there's a dean that has some oversight over the classroom within that space. So normally that's coordinated, also to be coordinated along with the discipline and courses are being offered and when. So we reach out to your dean if you have a question about that, or any particular dean in the given area, because they also know what's happening with their overall space allocation.
Okay, so that's coordinated through the deans?
Yes, the deans, each instructional dean probably oversees a particular area where their classes are. And they work well together amongst ourselves, if you will. But if you want to find out about a specific space, you probably want to work with that dean or through Tilly's office, the VPI's office.
Yeah, my concern here is that philosophy and humanities doesn't have a home. We have office spaces, which is lovely, and we love it over there, but we don't actually have classroom homes. And so we're sort of constantly like being told we can't access classrooms because they belong to somebody else. So I'll work with my deans on that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and Suna, we regularly, and maybe it is timely, Janelle, let's add that to the next College Council for Tilly Chavez to provide an update. And I'll go on record as saying that no one owns the classrooms. Mm-hmm. The first order of assigning the classrooms typically is the dean who has oversight over the building. But Suna, you're not alone. I can name a number of programs that don't have a classroom and rotate amongst various places on campus. One of them that comes to mind is student development or personal growth. But what I can assure you is that our campus was built out for about 24,000 students. We don't have 24,000 students. So where it starts to get a little tricky is the time that the class is offered. And that's really where the part that Dean Yule went over, is that the dean over the area that resides in the building typically has priority over scheduling. But if you need to find a classroom, there are an abundance of classrooms that we would have no problem. Now, I know ideally, because we've been involved in these discussions a number of times, people would like to have their class in the same classroom at the same time, semester to semester. And unfortunately, given the number of people who are in certain buildings, sometimes that is possible, and many times it may not necessarily be possible. Jocelyn, and then Maria Jose. You're muted, Jocelyn.
So sorry. I just noticed that. It was sort of answered, and I don't know if, John, you saw my chat, and this may be a little, can't address it right now, but is there any lists available? And I know I'm always asking for lists, sorry. Available where it says what spaces that we could tap into? And I'm not talking about classroom spaces, I'm just talking about spaces in general that you can put on this form.
So the answer to that is no, because every space is accounted for. So normally the way it would start is someone would work with their immediate supervisor to say, I need a space. So let's use an example. The most recent one was Marciano and our basic needs team, because we received a grant that is allowing us to hire, is it 2 or 3? We're going to call them counselors, but they're more like mental health type counselors. They're helping with placement. So Marciano and his team filled out the form looking for office space. And in this case, we had CACT. We had empty offices in CACT. And so we gave a tour with Marciano of these spaces. And so that's the way it's generated. First, there has to be a need. And then from the need, either working with John Parker or the area vice president, then we go through where there are spaces, because there are spaces, frankly, Jocelyn, all over this campus that are empty. So as Robbie said in a very joking but serious way, the answer really is it depends, right? Are we talking about one office? Are we talking about multiple offices? What is the request? So it really begins with a request. And from there, we start to identify the spaces based on the nature of the request. Maria Jose.
Thank you.
No, thank you. This is a great conversation. I'm thankful to Sunab, because I actually thought that question and I assumed this form was for everything. So space allocation in general, meaning classrooms too. So I think that is an important distinction. And maybe in that form, we can add something. This is for non-classroom or for not classroom spaces. And also, is there then a form or a process where faculty or departments or programs can request for classroom space?
So yes, that there is not a form. That is part of the scheduling process for the college. And maybe, Robbie, you can work with Janelli, and typically, Maria Jose, we go over that process with the chairs in our Chairs Academy. Then we expect that the chairs go over that process with their colleagues. And so if there is a need to go over that process, Maria Jose, maybe that's an invitation to Tilly Chavez to come to an academic senate meeting to go over it. But I assure you, I've been in those meetings with the chairs where the deans and the vice president of instruction has gone over what we call space utilization process. And there's both some of the rooms have electronic ways to track it, and then other rooms don't have. And generally speaking, it's based on the head count in the class, the time of day. There's a series of things that go into what we call space utilization or classroom utilization. Now, I want to clarify though, because we do have some classrooms that are not used for instruction, mainly over in the, and I do have COVID cloud, the Business Resource Center, right? We have spaces over in this Business Resource Center that are classroom in nature, but are not necessarily used for instruction, right? And so it really does depend, and that's why those decisions are made with the dean in consultation with the dean over the given building. And typically they're had at the level of the chairs, because the chairs are the ones working with the deans to schedule. So if a faculty member wanted to request a classroom, they would work with their chair, the chair would work with the dean, and then usually the deans would get together and identify a classroom, giving preference to the request if it was available, and then going from there. And we can work with Tilly to kind of go through that process. Dean Yule, is there anything else you'd like to add to that?
Thank you, Ricky. The only other item is that there are some specialized classrooms that actually have either special lab equipment, technology gear, et cetera, and kind of limits basically who the constituent can be that can use it. So that's also a factor. And I think we used to use different programs for scheduling rooms. I think we're looking at Astro now as a new program set.
Yes.
So there is a system behind all of this, where we are basically having a good inventory of what's in every classroom and what can it offer to a given instructor. So when you have those conversations, that's also factored in.
Yeah, and again, that is managed by the Vice President of Instruction in consultation with the deans and the chairs. Any other questions about the space request form? And again, John, thank you for your leadership. And I know you're going to send that out to the campus so that folks would have received it for a third time. And, we'll regularly have these discussions as we begin to realize that there are a number of new people who a lot of it is on the job training. So as we realize that things need to be discussed, we'll bring it back here. It is a perfect segue back to Robbie to talk about computers. And let me commend Robbie. He has a great spreadsheet, because I was bugging him, knowing that both faculty and students were going to want to know how many computers we have available and how do we get a computer in the hands of somebody who needs one. Robbie?
Thank you, Ricky. I'm going to share my screen for a second. Janelle, if I may.
You should have access, Robbie.
Thank you. Okay, I'm not sure. Hopefully you can see this and I can make it larger if need be. Is that large enough?
Looks good. You might want to just close the column to the left.
Got it. Thank you. Okay, well, congratulations, everyone. We made it so far through the pandemic. And I will say that it was more than a notion for a college to go off campus and still function the way that we did, as the rest of our district did. And one of the things that happened there was that we literally had to invent something that we had not had before. We really didn't have a mobile tech operation where we could get everyone computers if they needed it, or hotspots, or other devices that helped them to function off campus. And frankly, part of our new normal. That's part of now too, both coming back on or off campus. And so what we put together now is just over this time period, and this time period only really happens from the equipment that was purchased since the pandemic. So it's basically newer, current generation gear. This is what we wanted to give you an idea of where we are with both our inventory, what's been distributed, how many of these devices are currently available. And as we continue to gather more things and more things are coming in, despite the supply chain, you get to see a little bit about where we are, as we take a snapshot right now. So this is about, again, San Diego City College's mobile tech. This is the July 2022 update. And we literally, as of the 15th of this month, we had an active inventory of roughly 645 current generation laptops that consisted of MacBooks and HP laptops. We had 75 employee hotspots. And currently, 257 of the laptops that we alluded to have been distributed. And the college now has 397 laptops that are still available for deployment, but that number keeps changing almost every day. As you can see from this particular grid, which we extracted from our working spreadsheet and our inventory list, you can see that we have X number of MacBooks. For example, we have 264 MacBooks. Ironically, for those of you who did not know or may not know, Apple products were actually one of the few things that were more reliable given the supply chain shortage. And so more of those devices had come in at one point in time. Of the 264, we have distributed 84 and still have currently available 180. Of this group, we have decided to set aside at least a minimum of 30 systems in the fall for students to check out in a MacBook Pro for those who are taking courses that are resource intensive, and MacBook is the preferred device to use for them. So this is a stopgap where we were not able to support those students before. We're thinking that roughly about 30 could be supported. There may be a need for 30 going into the fall term. And these are resource intensive courses such as graphic design, radio, TV, film, and other courses that we offer on our campus. Then we have two different types of laptops that are PC based. Your HP ProBook 450, which is basically our configuration for employees. It's a robust laptop. Of those, we had 165 that were purchased since the pandemic started, 97 of which have been distributed, 68 are still available. We are, of course, purchasing more, and I'll talk about that a little bit later about that we are providing this as a checkout option for new hires as well. So we're definitely securing more of them. For students using a PC laptop, we have an inventory of 225, of which 76 have been distributed. 149 of these student laptops, that configuration, are available. So you can see that's a moving figure, but right now we have some capacity. We'll continue to build upon it. And we're beginning to see an easing to some degree of the supply chain shortage, that things are actually starting to come in just in time, we hope, for the fall term. But we are building capacity there. We have a current inventory of hotspots of 75 hotspots that were purchased. We plan to add another 25 or 50 to our particular use of hotspots. These are T-Mobile hotspots, and they were secured primarily as the employee hotspot. We're going to secure more to give us some additional hotspots for students who may have an urgent need. But for the most part, we know that once the employee starts using the hotspot, we realize that they've actually been using it for the duration. Only a few have actually come back to be recycled back into the inventory. I'll talk about student hotspots in just a second. And also docking stations. During the pandemic, we purchased 28 HP docking stations, which 16 have been distributed, 12 are still available. They work ideally with the HP systems, the HP PC laptops. They work best with those. There are also another brand that actually is being used by institutional research. They secured four for their purposes, for their specific devices, and there were only 4 of them, and all 4 have been distributed. So in our profile, we have a total at this point in time of 32 docking stations, in which we probably will add more to that profile. We don't count them in inventory until they're here. So just want to let you know that this is what we actually can say is here on campus as of right now. So I mentioned 2 small items as set-asides. One is student hotspots and the like. And there are a number of things that actually have ran their course throughout the pandemic. We have 500 obsolete Sprint CoolPad student hotspots. They were deactivated by T-Mobile on May 31st of this year. These were issued early in the pandemic. With the thanks of the foundation, we were able to secure these gently used hotspots at the time, and they actually were used, but we realized after a while they were rarely used by the time we came close to deactivation. Students we are finding are actually finding other type of hotspots they can secure, either from other places. Some of the need has gone away because of Wi-Fi capability of people coming back to campus. And there's also county programs that are actually active right now that people are getting hotspots for their immediate use or for their families. So the demand is shifting, but we recognize the need that we should have some emergency gear just in case a student here and there runs into an emergency issue and they need a hotspot. The systems that were phased out and deactivated by T-Mobile, they were at the end of life anyway, and they were being phased out because T-Mobile basically purchased Sprint, and so those systems actually are going away. So this is pretty much our active inventory of current generation laptops. Many of you who have been around for a while may realize that we've had some older laptops that we were able to take advantage of right as the pandemic hit us, and we first went and pulled everything that we had. Those, for the most part, are some are available as emergency backups, but many of them have worked toward the end of life status as well. So the systems that we have now and the ones that we plan to add to the profile is what we believe will be supporting our students best as we go, and our employees, as we kind of leave part of the pandemic behind and move more toward a new normal. There are some other devices and computers that actually have been secured using HERFS dollars, many of them for being used on campus in different settings. And for example, different lab, classroom, computer lab settings and the like. And so that's actually, we're starting to see product come in that can support that need. So we are expecting, relatively soon, that there will be even further enhancements for your on-site computing as well. But the laptops were certainly necessary in the pinch, and we believe they will now be part of our ongoing situation. It will be easy for one to check out a laptop. We will actually, after this meeting, we will be listing for you the procedure for what an employee would have to do to actually secure a laptop or a hotspot if they don't already know or have one. And there is a site, a website that we invite students to go to if they're in need of a laptop or a hotspot. We can also mention that the one thing that while we actually grew and built out a few Chromebooks, Chromebooks going forward is not necessarily what we will be purchasing as an institution. They're a little bit limited for the type of instruction that we provide. But for those that we have some current generation ones purchased by select departments, and that seems to work for the immediate need, but full robust laptops are actually going to be what we'll offer students going forward for those who want to go through the program and make a request through the website.
Robbie, this was maybe a good time to unshare and
Yes.
let's see if folks have questions. So, and before we get to the questions, maybe you can talk about what's on order that will add to this list.
Well, this list actually is the mobile technology list. Some things that's on order are adding to that list more docking stations, more hotspots, more laptops. But also what's on order are things, in fact, one group just came in this week, we ordered 50 HP MFP multifunction printers to come in, and 30 have just arrived. So we actually have printers that will be used on campus for select areas. And for many of you, I'm glad you asked the question, Ricky, because many individuals are making computer requests. And some of the requests they're hoping as a standalone request, but now that summer gear is coming in, we actually might be able to fulfill their request without making a new order. We can draw upon things like the printers that have arrived, if that was the request, to try to address that as best we can. There is also it's an activity afoot where we are literally trying to refresh the desktop systems that we have throughout our campus. Many of them were kind of pushing the end of life before the pandemic, and we have a serious need to replace most parties' desktop systems. That effort is underway. We still have that same issue of not knowing when the systems will start coming in, but there is a sincere effort to try to pull that off. And finally, a related item, the campus has just gone through an analysis for its Wi-Fi penetration to check and see how robust the Wi-Fi is for parties to use them while they're on campus. The analysis is in. We are now working with district IT to see if we can get systems where we need to have them to make sure that your experience on campus in terms of using Wi-Fi is almost ubiquitous, that you literally can go to some places where there's been dead zones and actually have a strong, robust signal. The timing of that, which I hope might have been closer to the beginning of the new term, might be more of mid-fall by the time that actually finishes as a project. But it is underway.
Thank you, Robbie. Any questions for Robbie as we want to go to the next agenda item? Any questions? So we would ask those, every one of our campus leaders to share with their constituencies that we do have computers available. Robbie's going to send a written update to the campus with the processes outlined of how to check out a computer. He also mentioned that with our new hires, our goal is to provide every one of them with a new laptop that I hope is not going to come out of the inventory that he just shared with you. If it may on the front end, but that means that he has on order the ability to replace those, because we are hiring about 53 people. Speaking of hiring 53 people, I'm going to turn it over to Marciano to introduce the newest member of the San Diego City College family.
Yes, well, thank you. It's my privilege and honor to introduce Dr. Juan Carlos Reyna, who is joining us as our new Dean of Student Development and Matriculation. And yesterday was his first day, so we want to give a big city welcome to the newest member of our family, to Juan Carlos. And I'll let him just maybe say a brief word or two before he heads off to his first 3:30 meeting that he has.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you, Marciano. Thank you, Ricky. It's been great. Great start. Yesterday, as mentioned, was my first day. My preferred name is Juan Carlos. My pronouns are he, him, and his. And it's been great. I've gotten a really warm welcome, meeting folks on campus and a lot of people via Zoom in meetings all day yesterday and today as well. So I'm excited. I'm very excited to work with you all, be a part of the city team. I was born in Guadalajara, Jalisco, but I did grow up in San Diego, North County, so I'm a local. Did my schooling at Cal State San Marcos National and my doctorate at San Diego State, as you all saw in that email. But I'm committed to the work of equity, committed to the work that we do in the community colleges. I spent a little bit over 10 years at Palomar and a little bit over 5 years at Grossmont. So again, I'm excited to be here, be a part of this new district. Especially here at San Diego City College, the college that I know is known for its work around social justice and equity. You guys have a long-standing history, so I look forward to becoming a part of that.
Again, welcome to the team. So glad to have you here. Juan Carlos is one of many people who we will be adding to the City College family. And what I mean by adding includes promotions as well, but in this case, he's coming to us for another district. And so when you see him, please give him a warm San Diego City College welcome. We'll let you get off to your 3:30 meeting. Pleasure and welcome to San Diego City College. I'll ask Marciano to continue with an update. But before he does, I want to just offer a public apology that we mistakenly shared a document that identified a hiring before we had a chance to share with that department or an internal candidate, and that was never our intent. And I just wanted to publicly apologize that that happened in a way that was a little less than desirable. But with that said, the vice presidents are going to share the correct document that identifies where we are with hiring. Marciano? You're muted.
Sorry, thank you. Let me pull up the right document on my end. Sorry, all right.
And then John, if you could follow, John, if you could follow Marciano, and then Robbie, if you could follow John.
Generally, am I able to share? Doesn't look like I can share yet.
There you go.
Perfect, thank you. All right, so hopefully you all can see that. So what we did was we worked on our where we are with all of our hirings, our completed searches, our searches that are in recruitment, and our searches that are pending. And so as Ricky mentioned, we have something like 53 current recruitments that are either completed, in recruitment, or pending. So that's a lot of folks that we are at various stages in the recruitment process. Some of them committees have been formed, but we're waiting, the positions posted. Some of them, the position is just going through reviews. So PJFs are submitted and we're working on the postings. And some of them we're actually doing interviews. Today I got some updates about some interviews that are happening next week. But as you can see from the list, we've already hired like 10 different positions already, including the mental health counselors, EOPS, our Dean of Student Development and Matriculation, Director of Financial Aid, and research associate, athletic counselors, the 2 ILTs, and 2 Chicano Studies professors. And then in recruitment, we've got this long list of ones that are, as I mentioned, in various stages of recruitment, from interview committees being formed to all the way through interviews happening. And then in this last section here, you've got the ones that are pending, meaning that for most of those, we're either working on the posting, so working on HR in terms of identifying the position number or the funding source for some of these, getting the GLs on there before they'll move into this next category here, which is pending. But we've got a lot of positions, which also means that we have a lot of need for folks to help serve on some of these committees. And I just want to give a special shout out to a lot of the adjuncts that this summer have used, given up their time to come and be a part of these committees. For at least 3 of the committees that I currently am serving on, we have we have adjuncts that this is their first time serving on committees and have really appreciated the experience of being on a hiring committee and seeing it from a different lens. And so really appreciate the AFT supporting those folks being able to be compensated during the time that they're serving and doing the work of the college, which has been really, really nice to have. As you can imagine, trying to schedule a lot of folks during the summer has made it more difficult, but folks have chipped in and really stepped up to help make this process something easier for us. So I don't know if there's any questions about the 3 items that are on there, and we did send this out as well, so that folks should be able to have it. Seeing no questions, I will stop sharing.
I didn't know if John and or Robbie wanted to add anything to what Marciano shared.
No, unless we're going through each of the positions, I don't have anything to add, Ricky.
Yeah, and again, this document has come to this council a number of times, beginning in December of last year. I assure everyone that these positions went through the college's process, which includes the program review, as well as the faculty hiring prioritization. John Parker is working on an update because Jocelyn, I regularly hear you raise a question in terms of the actual raw numbers pre and post pandemic of faculty, classified supervisors and managers. And so John is going to work with Roxanne to put it in the prescribed position. We do track vacancies. We should know that out of all of the 53 positions that are in some form of recruitment right now, only 4 of them are new positions. That means most of these positions are replacement. The great resignation is real. Well, I shouldn't say that. Only 4 of them on general funds are new positions. There are a number of people at work writing grants. I think we brought in $7 million last year of new grants. And so there are some new positions on grants. That's why when you look at the document, you'll see GFU or GFR. And a great number of the positions, the veterans counselor, the promise counselor, a lot of those positions are GFR funded. And it's important that I say that because when you have a faculty hiring prioritization and you have some programs, departments that have access to GFR money and GFU money, it complicates this, right? Because for those of you who may not be familiar with the term GFR, general fund restricted, meaning it's restricted for a specific thing, and general fund unrestricted, which means you can use that money for any reason. And then you have other things that complicate these processes, like the 50% law that says 50% of our budget has to be spent on some form of instruction. And then you have things like HERF dollars that we have fronted positions, particularly classified positions. And let me say that certainly we would like to have more full-time faculty. Let me go on record as saying that. But if you look at the positions actually lost, it tends to be classified professionals that are the hardest hit. And that's primarily due to the 50% law, that we don't have the same funding source to replace classified professionals as we tend to for faculty. One of the many reasons that I love this college is how we put titles aside and we work together as a collaborative environment, but we do have some offices that have been decimated in the classified ranks, and we're trying to the best of our ability to try to build back those offices. And that's why that document that John is working on is so important, to be able to capture the raw number within each category as we start to build back. Any questions about hiring? Well, someone may say, how do I get a position if I need one? The first answer would be program review. Is your position in program review? The second one is, what type of position is it? Again, we already have a process for the faculty prioritization. It's a 2-year list. That list just came back online December, January. It was presented in January to the campus. For classified, it's a little bit more complicated. Typically, what I will ask, and I just asked it today, for the vice presidents to do is to bring me their top 5 positions. From there, we meet as an exec team. So my expectation is that they're meeting with their teams to come up with the 5 in a ranked order. From there, they bring those positions to me, and we look at the budget to determine what we can accommodate. Most of the times, the way this happens is that the district will tell us, you have funding for 3 positions. Now, in this case, let me say on record, and it'll be in writing at some point, we've already fronted an ILT in chemistry using HERF money. So in order to keep that position, that means we need a vacancy to replace it, or we need the district to front us a position. The second position that we're doing in a very similar way, and I hope you all will agree with me, is I authorize Caesar to hire a videographer so that we capture the great work that we're doing at City College, marketing, outreach, promotion, and we're going to use HERF money to front that classified staff position in anticipation with the state budget of the district saying, you know what, City College has 3 positions. And then we'll backfill that position so that we can maintain a videographer because that is the future. Is people want to watch Instagram and TikTok, which means we need to be out in front of that and promoting our academic programs and the greatness that we have here at San Diego City College, which means we already have 2 positions that we're fronting with categorical or restricted money in anticipation to receiving those funds. Well, you may say, well, that's not in student services. Well, I've already assured Marciano he's going to be at the top of the list when this rolls back around, because instruction's number 1, that IoT and chemistry. Number 2 really is a position for the campus, which is this videographer. That person will work across disciplines. And then the third one is likely to be, and I had a conversation last week with the Academic Senate, is a need to fill the secretary support staff for the Academic Senate. We've had some movement in my office. Ira was serving that role, but there is a need to have a permanent person who is split funded to support the Academic Senate. And that's likely to be the third position in the list of priorities as we work with the district to allocate additional resources for us to hire. Questions? And so Maria Jose, I've already asked John Parker to make sure that that position is in program review to do split fund between the foundation and the Academic Senate in anticipation that we will be able to hire a temporary person in a similar way that we did the ILT and this videographer, that the funding is going to come and then that person will be permanent as we go through our process. Any questions about hiring? Hearing none, we will move on. Well, really 6 and 7 were the same things. Africa. We have an opportunity to take a group of faculty and students to a conference in Africa the week of, I believe, September 16th, in a conference at Cape Coast University, one of the largest universities in Ghana with over 50,000 students. You all should know that last year's ASG president was from Ghana. We have a very large population of both Eastern and Western African immigrants, mostly refugees in San Diego. And so this is an opportunity to do a couple of things. One, there's an abundance of research that shows that Black students are least likely to participate in study abroad. So this would be a study abroad opportunity for, I believe, Marciano, 6 or 8 students.
8 students.
Thank you, as well as the coordinators for our learning communities. So we're taking Ebony Tyree, who works with our Umoja program. We're taking Andre Jones, who works with our City Scholars program. We are taking a foster youth, or former foster youth, of formerly incarcerated students. So we're funding through equity, our equity budget, a number of students who normally would have never had an opportunity to participate in a study abroad program. This came very quickly. We worked with the Academic Senate exec to come up with a process that really focused, and the Equity Diversity Committee, which has a new name, Marciano, of
Ideas.
The Ideas Committee. The faculty in HUBU and Umoja put together a presentation, and we're looking to spend somewhere between $60,000 and $70,000 of equity funding, which we had a surplus of, to be able to take a group of students and faculty to a conference in Ghana, West Africa. We plan to do the same thing with our Puente program when HUBU has their international conference As a result of going to the conference, the faculty and the students are going to present during our board meeting on campus in the fall, as well as during Black History Month. And so we are looking to take a group of about 12. I will be accompanying the group, as well as John Parker. And in addition to the stated outcomes, we're hoping to build out a study abroad relationship where our students at City College can go to Cape Coast University for a study abroad, as well as the students from Cape Coast can come to City College as a study abroad opportunity. Are there any questions? This will be on the board agenda, I believe, for this Thursday. Mesa is joining us on the trip, as well as the College of Continuing Education. And there are upwards of 20 California community colleges that will be attending this conference in Ghana, West Africa. And our very own student body president, Diego, is planning to go on the trip as a Umoja student himself. Any questions? Marcelo, anything you would like to add to the, no pressure.
No, I think you covered it all. And I just wanted to clarify it's the Haku International, not the Hubu International.
Sorry, yes, Haku, thank you. There is no Hubu International, thank you, good catch, Marciano. And speaking of good catch, I want to publicly thank Ira in my office, who is leading the efforts of getting the students. And this is a huge undertaking, folks, to secure visas and hotels and transportation. So I want to just publicly thank Ira Garcia for her efforts, as well as Dr. Nisha Savage, who has transitioned into her new role in the Transfer Career Center. She's leading efforts as well. So thank everyone. This is a huge undertaking, and looking forward to representing City College when we go to Ghana, West Africa in September. If there are no questions, I'll talk briefly about number 9, which is the budget. This is slated to be the best community college budget in the history of California community colleges. The one critique, if I could, is that there is not a line item for hiring full-time faculty, which is how we hire full-time faculty. As we receive money from the state, it goes to the district, then we get an allocation. But notwithstanding that piece, there is more funding for California community colleges in other areas than ever we've seen before. I've been getting a lot of questions about hold harmless. What this budget does is pushes out hold harmless to 24, 25. It creates a funding floor so that we're slated to get at least receive the same amount of funding moving forward to 24, 25 that we'll receive in 22, 23. That means we continue to have funding to help with the pandemic, to help with professional development, to help with our special populations, and to help with base allocation. And so this is a great budget. I do believe out of the budget, again, we're going to be able to release some of our frozen positions. The district is analyzing that right now. We'll have more details on the specificities of the budget, but this is probably the best hands down budget that we've ever seen in the state of California for community colleges. John Parker, anything you want to add about the budget?
No, you pretty much touched on it. Actually, it's important that we understand what you mentioned there. There was not consideration to hire additional faculty. That's a question that we receive a lot. Well, when you get more money, how come we can't hire more people?
Yeah, and that doesn't necessarily mean that we're out of harm's way when it comes to the budget. We continue to have challenges with what's called post-retirement obligations, with the large number of baby boomers that are retiring. And so we require on the state to give us additional resources, because there are percentages of our budget that go into paying for PERS and STIRS allocations. Upwards of 90% of our budget are the great people who we work with and their benefits, which leaves us about 10% to actually run the college. In a normal operating budget, you normally want to be 80% salaries and benefits, 20% operational, but we're operating right now in that 90-10, which should always be a reason to be aware of how we're spending the resources that we receive. There is a joint analysis that was sent out to the campus from the LAO's office, as well as some other state organizations that provide more details in the budget. But overall, this is the best budget community colleges have ever seen in the history of California community colleges. Any questions about the budget? Hearing them, the other question that we have been receiving is, what are we going to do for the fall and working remotely? First of all, I believe in the spring or early summer, late spring, the district, through its health and safety committee, passed AP 7170. That is the remote work policy. That means there's already a policy, folks. As a college, we have gone on record saying that we support people who can, based on their individual job, work from home up to 1 day a week. In some cases, isolated cases, we do have a couple people who are working a little bit more than that. That's really based on the supervisor's purview. I do not envision any change to that, meaning the policy is in place. You can go read it, AP 7170. There is a process to request to be able to work remotely. It goes through your supervisor. As a campus, we have been approving people working about on average, 1 day a week. And so we do not anticipate any changes to that. I'm going to be working with Caesar probably Wednesday or Thursday to do a video update to the campus, because we've been getting a lot of questions about the remote work policy. Our faculty, our classified professionals, our entire campus, I commend folks for what innovation that they've been able to do during this pandemic. We absolutely did an amazing work with supporting people remotely. But for those of us who have been on campus throughout the pandemic, because not every job can be done remotely, let me just shout out the folks in shipping and receiving, mostly John's areas, facilities. Those jobs can't be done remotely. They got to be here, which is why all of the vice presidents and I have been here. Many of the managers have been here throughout this pandemic, because we are still a brick and mortar campus. And there isn't a day that has gone by during this pandemic, and even today, that there aren't people on our campus looking and needing help, because not all of us have a computer at home. Not all of us have Wi-Fi home. I challenge anyone who hasn't been to the Welcome Center to stop by there and see the great work of Clarissa and her team, who are helping students register for classes who don't know how to do it. Can you imagine waking up wanting to go to college and you don't know how to do our system? If you think it's easy, I challenge anyone to apply for the college and try to register for a class. And I have a doctorate and I needed some help. So imagine someone coming back to school, just getting out of the military, just getting out of prison, the host of the 100% of people who we work with, that there needs to be people here to help them get accustomed to the way our process works. And so, yes, we will continue to allow people to work remotely, most likely a day a week. Depends on the type of and nature of your job, because we all don't have the same job. Any questions about that? Come on, Jocelyn. I know you got it. I'm waiting. Come on. Should I put your hand up first, Jocelyn? You're muted.
Well, I was trying to give anyone else an opportunity.
I love your questions, Jocelyn.
Thank you. So yes, remote versus being in person on campus is always an ongoing conversation, right? And with the new policy that the district just came out about students vaccination, how do we address that when when we say the work cannot be done remotely, but folks are still saying, well, why not? And I know that's maybe, I don't really know how to pose it, but are someone saying one particular day I may have a need because I have something going on, but I can't submit a request because my work requires me to be here?
Look, I appreciate that question, right? Because I want to be clear. This is a family atmosphere. This is the best college I've ever worked with. I genuinely like the people I work with, and many of you I hang out with outside of work. Why am I saying that? We, throughout this pandemic, has exercised maximum flexibility because none of us know what tomorrow holds. I had COVID, folks, for 11 days. I still worked. I worked from home, coughing and fever and all. And so folks want a definitive answer about something that unfortunately I don't have a crystal ball and I can't give you a definitive answer. What I can say is that throughout this process, we have exercised maximum flexibility. And we'll continue to do that. Now, you may say, well, maximum flexibility, you're only telling me I can work from home 1 day a week, because we're still a college campus. Zoom is great because it allows us to do things from various places, including our homes or while we're traveling. And that Pandora's box has been opened, right? And so we don't want to lose sight of our focus on social justice. And just because something may be more convenient, the jury is still out on the success rate of students and the modality in which they are successful. And unfortunately, there cannot be, and this is, I guess, maybe the researcher in me, a one-size-fits-all model. And that's the difference between equity and equality. Not everybody learns the same way. Some of us, frankly, need to be in person to learn. And I used to love when I would walk to the bathroom and I'd see Suna out on the patio with her class. I mean, I used to love to see that. One, because I just love seeing other people on campus when I was here. But I mean, you can see the learning that was taking place. And I even heard a couple of times students thank her for having the class in person because they learned differently in person than they did on Zoom. Now, there's no doubt that people we're in a position now that we desire maximum flexibility, and we'll continue to work toward determining what that looks like for us, but we are a brick and mortar campus. I don't know, Jocelyn, if that answers your question.
It helps. I mean, because really just sending the message that we are a brick and mortar institution, and I think among any of the campuses, and I'm not trying to speak for all campuses or throw any stones at any campus, I think City has been the most family flexible oriented campus. Because even my counterparts I know have not been allowed the opportunities that we have. So I would say City is one that does take social justice at heart and have tried to work with each individual as our lives are different. It's just sometimes, you get the pushback of why can't we continue this? And I don't have the answer for that.
Well, I have the answer. We are continuing it. It's not a matter of are we continuing, it's the frequency in which we're continuing. And that's going to depend on the nature of one's job and preferably on the demands and needs of our students, because that's really why we're here. Without students, none of us would be here. And so we have to take that into consideration, but also the success of our students, because some of our students prefer to a certain type of modality, but when you look at the success rate, that doesn't necessarily translate into the same thing. Maria-Jose.
No, thank you. This is an important conversation. I know this, it's in the back of everybody's mind. I'm looking forward to going back to campus, but my question is more about the meetings. As we come back to campus, are we still going to be meeting via Zoom for meetings, or are we going to be meeting in person? Is this something that has been discussed, and not just for College Council, but I'm talking about most of the meetings that we
Yeah, thank you, Maria Jose. You know, interesting enough, and I want to shout out Robbie and his team, particularly Sean and Eric and Majda and everybody who's kind of behind the scenes. We had been operating in this hybrid model since the time I arrived on campus, because when we would run convocation, folks in offices like admission and records and financial aid said, look, we can't close, but we still want the same information. I can absolutely tell you, when we had these college council meetings in person, nobody attended. We can see the data once we started doing it on Zoom. And so I think that ideally, Maria Jose, the answer is that it'll be hybrid, because one thing that I hope we come to the realization, if we haven't already, COVID is not going away. And so, you know, unfortunately, even in my case, if I have COVID next week, and you're more likely to get it, particularly with the, what is it, B4, B5, you're more likely to get it a second, third, where you see some people get it for a fourth time. And so I think the natural ideal way to move forward is to continue to offer it hybrid, because at any point, and I was actually, I serve on the board of Sharp Hospital, and I was in a meeting yesterday, and they relayed, and I haven't had a chance to fact check this, so please do so, but the doctors informed us, the members of the board, that during the Spanish flu epidemic, it continued, some elements, or the endemic portion of it continued like 3 to 4 years after like the major matter. And so at least the health professionals that I met with said that the frequency, vaccinated or not, and I'm not taking a position on that, it's your body, you can do with what you like, but they're saying, at least the health professionals that I met with this week, that the frequency and the likelihood of contracting COVID more than once actually is following the same path as the 1913 matter. And so that's likely to say that we are going to be dealing with this in some capacity for the next 2 to 3 years, until whatever level of herd immunity makes this flu-like in terms of seasonal. And I want to choose my words carefully, because again, I'm not making a judgment. I'm just relaying what the health professionals that I meet with weekly are telling me based on research and science. And so I know that's a long answer to really go back to Robbie to say it depends. I think we have to maintain this level of hybrid, because at any point, any of us can contract COVID. Any other questions or comments for the good of the order in terms of the fall remote or COVID? We've already kind of, I mean, those two things go hand in hand. Hearing none, are there?
Sorry, I have one thing to ask.
I think Diego, Jocelyn, give
sorry.
me 1 second. Diego got ahead of you, then we'll come back to you, Diego.
How many classes are going to be on in person next this fall?
Thank you, Diego. And what I'll ask Janelli and Robbie to do is provide an update as an agenda item for the next College Council meeting. And here's why I'm going to say that, Diego, and I'm going to give you an answer. We scheduled, I believe, approximately 80%. Our goal was to schedule 80% in person. And then as students start registering, and this always happens, we are moving, we're basing that based on demand. And so some sections in certain departments in person are feeling quicker. I would say overall, for the last 2 years, online traditionally feels quicker. But we started in terms of scheduling at approximately 80% with the goal of getting to 60% being in person. Now that is a moving target because we're always, the chairs, the deans, the faculty are looking at these enrollment numbers daily and moving sections, classes in either direction. Does that make sense, Diego?
That makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah. Jocelyn.
So just wanted to ask, will testing and COVID kits and all that still be available?
John Parker.
Yes, kits are available. We have about 4,000. About 3,500. We ordered another 2,500.
And so those are being delivered to offices. You can work with your supervisor, i.e. Jocelyn, you being a supervisor, you can work with John Parker to request testing, masks, gloves, as part of Welcome Back Week. I don't know, Marciano, if you're in a position to provide an update on Welcome Back Week and kind of what we have planned for that.
Hi there. Yes, sorry. Again, someone else is in my office, but I just wanted you all to know, in terms of Welcome Back Week, we have a committee of folks that are meeting to plan the Welcome Back Week for our faculty and classified professionals. That will include Robbie and Don Long have been helping plan that. We're tying it into Flex Week. So it's the Flex/Welcome Back Week that will include things like we're constituting the coffee breaks that we have. We're trying to get a couple of food trucks and so doing some fun things like that. And then we'll have a Welcome Back Week for students as well, that Student Affairs and Outreach are planning so that we have a week for students and a week for faculty and classified professionals.
And as part of Welcome Back Week, the deans and the managers will be distributing safety kits that have hand sanitizer, masks, tests, and those sorts of things. So John Parker's office is assembling those right now, but if you need tests, they are available, and you can just get with John Parker, and we would love to be able to distribute some of those tests. And as he's mentioned, we are constantly ordering more as you speak, because the only way to tell whether you have COVID or not is to take a test. Any other questions? Any other updates for the good of the order? Yes, Sean.
I want to share with this group our new classified Senate officers. Xenia Torres is joining us as our classified Senate VP. Joan Taylor is our secretary, and Sal Guzman is our treasurer. We will be having some events during Welcome Back Week and have an opportunity for folks to come and meet the Senate.
Fabulous. Look forward to that, Sean. Thank you for your leadership. And that's a great way to end, is just say, look, I love this campus. I certainly enjoy the people I get to work with every day. And our classified professionals really are the backbone of our campus, many of them coming into contact with students before they step foot into the classrooms. And so we do whatever we can to support our classified professionals, and we continue to partner with Sean Ryan and the Classified Senate to look for ways to support the morale of our classified professionals. And what he just outlined is one of those ways that we're doing that. Look, folks, we've got to get into another meeting. We will do this same time, same place in about 2 weeks. Take care, everyone. If you would like an agenda item, please work with one of these